guys, it's Taste. Welcome to the preview of the SLENDYTUBBIES Growing Tension Battle of the Bosses 2 vs 2 tournament. 30 teams would be competing in this tournament, and I thought it'd be a good idea to show you some of my thought process behind how I put these teams together. Then I'll reveal the final makeups of each team, and finally, we'll get to see the bracket and what position each team is in. Now, as far as making the teams, I first divided all 60 competitors into 3 different groups: the strong, the weak, and the middle of the road group. Not too strong, but also not too weak. The majority of the Tubbies fall into this category. So once I had all the Tubbies separated into their groups, I took one from the strong group and combined it with one from the weak group. Once all the weak Tubbies were assigned a group, any strong Tubbies left over were put into the middle of the road group. Then for the next 6.5 hours, I kid you not, I tested, I tweaked, I changed. I'm not sure if you can see this piece of paper, but look at all the edits I did. All kinds of edits to make sure this tournament was as fair as possible. It took a lot of effort and a lot of changing around, but I think I've come up with the 30 teams, and here they are. Arrow Phase 2 is teamed with Aaron 3R Phase 1. Scythe Phase 2 is with Shadow Lala. The Imposter is partnered with Arrow Phase 1. Alan Phase 2 is with Headless Dipsy. The Guardian is with Alan Phase 1. Cave Phase 2 is with Big Security Bot. Lala Phase 1 is with Scythe Phase 1. Yeti Phase 2 is with Little Ronnie Boy. Extreme Phase 1 is teamed with the Bull. Shadowpo is teamed with Yeti Phase 1. The Announcer Phase 2 is with Nui. Crawler is with Clickety Po. And Pharaoh will be grouped with Custard Keeper. Toyman is paired with Crooked Newborn. Cleo Phase 2 is with Cave Phase 1. Ghost Woman is teamed with Aiden. Shadow Tubby is grouped with Sergeant Morales. Spider-Po is partnered with Shadow Tinky Winky. The Announcer Phase 1 is teamed with Poe Phase 1. Lala Phase 2 is with White Scythe. Toy Who is grouped with Kivitz the Kid. Ghost Girl is partnered with Cleve and Clave. Lake Dipsy Phase 2 is paired with the Scorpion Newborn. Aaron 3R Phase 2 is with Sergeant Miles. Tinky Tank is partnered with Lake Dipsy Phase 1. The Hunter teams with Shadow Dipsy. Floriser is paired with Carmison. Glutton is paired with Corrupt Newborn. Tinky Winky is with Tony the Kid. And Extreme Phase 2 is partnered with Spawner Newborn. And taking a look at the bracket, they're all here. And let's quickly run through all the first round matchups. Amphara and Custard Keeper will take on Lala Phase 2 and White Scythe. Now I had to give Amphara a very weak partner or that team ends up being too overpowered. And I eventually decided on the Custard Keeper. Now I don't expect this little sucker to survive very long, which means Amphara will be on his own for the majority of this fight. And I still think he can beat Lala Phase 2 and White Scythe. The next matchup is Toy Who and Kivitz the Kid taking on Arrow Phase 2 and Aaron 3R Phase 1. This is a great matchup, pretty evenly balanced between both teams. I'll have to give the edge just slightly to Toy Who and Kivitz the Kid because of their AEs. But if Arrow is able to hit that cascading fire a few times, that could propel his team to the win. Next matchup is Ghost Woman and Aiden taking on Alan Phase 2 and Headless Dipsy. Another great matchup, but I'm going to have to give the edge to Ghost Woman and Aiden just because Ghost Woman has that awesome Tornado Shadow AE. This matchup, the Guardian and Alan Phase 1 taking on Extreme Phase 1 and the Bull, is going to come down to how quickly the Guardian's team can take out the Bull. That sucker has very low hit points, but his lava rocks do considerable damage. The quicker the Guardian and Alan Phase 1 can take care of the Bull, the better chances they win this matchup. The next matchup is one I'm really looking forward to. It's the Announcer Phase 1 and Poe Phase 1 taking on Yeti Phase 2 and Little Ronnie Boy. I'll give a slight advantage here to the Yeti team just because of Ron's cascading fire. If that thing hits, it does absolutely massive damage. The next matchup will be a very interesting one. It's Glutton and Corrupt Newborn taking on Shadowpo and Yeti Phase 1. And similar to Amphara, I had to give Glutton a very weak opponent. That thing should die within the first 30 seconds, leaving Glutton to fend for himself. And even though he'll be solo for the majority of the fight, I still think he wins versus Shadowpo and Yeti Phase 1. The next matchup is another one I'm looking forward to. It's the Imposter and Arrow Phase 1 taking on Floriser and Carmison. Another set of evenly matched teams, and anything can happen in this fight, but Floriser is one of my new favorite characters, so I'm hoping they pull out the win. So that's all the matchups on the right side of the bracket. Now taking a look at the left side of the bracket, we have K Phase 2 and Big Security Bot taking on Shadow Tubby and Sergeant Morales. And just like in Farrah and Glutton, I had to give Cade a weaker partner or that team ended up being way too powerful. So he gets the big security bot. For sure that thing will die first, but I think Cade can still do well on his own. The next matchup has Crawler and Clickety Poe taking on Toyman and Crooked Newborn. And because Toyman is a very powerful Tubby, I had to group him with a weak partner. I think they'll hold their own, but I'm going to give the advantage to the Crawler Clickety Poe team because Crawler has that devastating Tornado Shadow. The next matchup is a really good one I'm looking forward to. It's Tinky Tank and Dipsy Phase 1 taking on Extreme Phase 2 and Spotter Newborn. Now, Tinky Tank and Extreme Phase 2 are both powerful Tubbies and both deserve weaker teammates. Extreme Phase 2 got the Spotter Newborn, but luckily for Tinky Tank, all the weaker partners were given out, so he was put into the middle of the row pack. There, he was matched up with Dipsy Phase 1 as his partner. And because of that, I am definitely giving the advantage to Tinky Tank and Dipsy Phase 1 in this matchup. Next is the Announcer Phase 2 and Nui taking on Spider Poe and Shadow Tinky Winky. This is another great matchup, pretty evenly balanced teams, but I have to give a slight edge to Spider Poe and Shadow Tinky Winky once again because Shadow Tinky Winky has that Tornado Shadow. And you're starting to see a pattern here, aren't you? Any team that has that Tornado Shadow is the one I'm picking. Next matchup is the winner of the Battle of the Bosses 1 vs 1, Lake Dipsy Phase 2, and his partner, Scorpion Newborn, taking on Lala Phase 1 and Scythe Phase 1. Now the Scorpion Newborn has very low hit points, does use some fire, but I expect it to be dead fairly quickly. That will leave Lake Dipsy Phase 2 on its own. And if he can avoid Lala Phase 1's cascading beam, he has a really good chance to win. The next matchup is probably one of the best of the first round. It's Cleo Phase 2 and Cave Phase 1 taking on Hunter and Shadow Dipsy. Two very evenly matched and powerful teams. I have no idea who's going to win this one. I'm just going to have to wait and see what happens when it happens. And the final matchup of round 1 has Aaron 3R Phase 2 and Sergeant Miles taking on Tinky Winky and Tony the Kid. I think this one will come down to how often Aaron 3R Phase 2 uses that triple beam shot. If he uses it a lot, that team will win. If he doesn't, Tinky Winky's team will win. I'm curious to see which first round matchups you're looking forward to and which team are you pulling for to win it all. And as far as who I think will do well in the tournament, I'll pick one team from each section of the bracket. In the upper left portion of the bracket, it's a tough choice between Team Tinky Tank and Dipsy Phase 1 and Crawler and Clickety Poe, but I'm going with the Crawler team. In the lower left portion of the bracket, I have to go with Cleo Phase 2 and Cave Phase 1. They seem really powerful. Now on the right side in the upper portion, I am picking Ghost Woman and Aiden to do well, and in the lower right portion of the bracket, I am picking Floriser and Carmison. They're my sentimental favorites. Let me know in the comments who you're going for. Well, there you go, everyone. All 30 teams and the bracket revealed. I'm looking forward to the start of this tournament.